If you're planning to travel into or out of the United States in the coming weeks, there's something absolutely critical you need to know right now. December 26th isn't just another date on the calendar. It marks one of the most significant changes to U.S. border security in over 2 decades, and it's going to affect millions of travelers. Whether you hold a green card, work visa, student visa, or you're simply visiting family during the holidays, this change will impact how you enter and leave the country. I'm talking about a complete transformation in how the United States verifies your identity at every single checkpoint. This isn't speculation. This isn't rumor. This is official policy from the Department of Homeland Security. And if you cross U.S. borders, you cannot afford to miss what I'm about to share with you. Welcome to U.S. Visa Updates, where we bring you the most accurate, verified, and up-to-date information on U.S. immigration policies and travel procedures. I'm your host, and today we're diving deep into one of the biggest nationwide changes to border screening procedures in recent American history. We're talking about the full expansion of biometric collection for every non-citizen entering or leaving the United States. This isn't just another policy tweak. This is the final rollout of a congressional mandate that's been in development for more than 20 years. Ever since the aftermath of the September 11th attacks changed the way America thinks about border security forever. Before we get into the details, if this is your first time on our channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss critical immigration updates that could directly affect your travel plans or legal status in the United States. And if you find this information valuable, please show your support by hitting that like button and sharing this video with anyone who travels internationally. Trust me, they'll thank you for it. Now let's get straight into what's changing, why it matters, and most importantly, what you need to do to prepare. What exactly is changing? On October 27, 2025, the Department of Homeland Security published a final rule in the Federal Register. The official title of this regulation is Collection of Biometric Data from Aliens Upon Entry to and Departure from the United States, and it officially takes effect on December 26, 2025. Now, let me break down exactly what this rule does in clear, straightforward terms. Starting December 26th, U.S. Customs and Border Protection will be permitted to collect facial photographs from all non-U.S. citizens at every entry and exit point. We're talking about international airports, land borders with Canada and Mexico, seaports where cruise ships dock, and even private aircraft arrivals. This is comprehensive coverage across every possible entry and exit point. The rule makes several major changes that you need to understand. First, it eliminates previous restrictions that limited biometric use to specific test locations. Before this rule, the system operated through pilot programs at select airports. Those days are over. Second, it ends age-based exemptions. Previously, children under 14 and seniors over 79 were exempt from facial recognition checks. Under the new rule, everyone must participate regardless of age. Third, and this is crucial, it removes limitations on departure tracking. For years, the United States has had significant gaps in tracking who actually leaves the country. This system closes those gaps permanently. Now, I want to be clear about something important. This technology isn't completely new. If you've traveled through a major U.S. airport in recent years, there's a good chance you've already encountered it. CBP has been testing and slowly expanding facial recognition at multiple sites for years using pilot programs. What changes on December 26th is that this becomes official, permanent nationwide policy. The pilot phase ends, and the system becomes the standard operating procedure at every border checkpoint in America. How does the system actually work? Let me explain the technology behind this system because understanding how it works will help you know what to expect when you travel. The system operates through something called the Traveler Verification Service. It's actually quite sophisticated in how it functions. When you approach a screening checkpoint or a departure gate, a camera captures your photograph. This isn't a photo you pose for. It happens automatically as you move through the process. That live image is then immediately compared to photographs the government already has on file. We're talking about your passport photo, your visa application photo, or images from your previous travel records stored in Department of Homeland Security databases. The comparison happens in seconds. In most cases, the system verifies your identity faster than a traditional manual passport inspection by a human officer. We're talking about 2 to 3 seconds in many instances. The system uses cloud-based facial biometric matching technology to automate the identity verification process, which means it can handle high volumes of travelers efficiently. What makes this system particularly powerful from a security standpoint is its ability to detect several critical issues. It can identify travelers using fraudulent or borrowed passports. It can flag individuals who have overstayed their visas. It can detect people who were previously deported attempting to re-enter the country. And it creates complete, accurate travel history records that eliminate the gaps that existed in the old system. For many years, the United States had major problems with exit tracking. When someone drove across the border into Canada or Mexico, there often wasn't an official record documenting that departure. Passport stamps were sometimes missing or unclear. Spelling variations across different documents could prevent records from matching correctly. The biometric system solves all of these problems by creating a confirmed automatic record each time a non-citizen crosses the border in either direction. Who does this apply to? This is probably the most important question on everyone's mind. So, let me give you the complete picture of who falls under this new rule. This regulation covers all non-US citizens. Let me be very specific about what that means. It includes green card holders and lawful permanent residents. Yes, even though you have permanent residency, you are required to participate in biometric screening. It includes all visa holders across every category: F1 students studying at American universities, H-1B workers employed by U.S. companies, L-1 employees transferred from overseas offices, J-1 exchange visitors participating in cultural programs, 1 and 2B tourists, and business visitors. Every single visa category is included. The rule also applies to visitors from visa waiver countries who enter under the visa waiver program. It covers refugees and asylum. It includes individuals with temporary protected status. And here's something that represents a significant change. Diplomats who previously had exemptions are now included in the system. The scope is truly comprehensive. Now, there is one major exception, and this is important to understand clearly. U.S. citizens are not required to participate in mandatory biometric collection. American travelers who prefer not to be photographed can inform a CBP officer or airline staff member, and they will undergo a manual passport check instead. However, and I cannot stress this enough, this opt-out option does not exist for non-citizens. If you are not a U.S. citizen, biometric screening is mandatory. There is no way to decline it. Let me also provide some historical context here because it helps explain why this is happening now. This rule was originally introduced during the Trump administration in late 2020. The Biden administration reopened it for public comments in early 2021, and the finalized version was just published in October 2025. This has been a bipartisan national security priority. Multiple administrations from both political parties have supported it because it fulfills post-9/11 federal requirements. The 9/11 Commission specifically identified a biometric entry-exit system as an essential investment in national security, and Congress has repeatedly reinforced this mandate through legislation and appropriations. What are the real goals of this system? According to the Department of Homeland Security, there are 3 primary objectives driving this massive expansion of biometric technology at the borders. The first goal is national security. In an era where terrorism and transnational crime remain genuine threats, the ability to verify with absolute certainty that the person standing at the border is who they claim to be provides a critical layer of protection. The system can identify known criminals and suspected terrorists by comparing live images against watch lists and databases maintained by law enforcement and intelligence agencies. The second goal is accurate identity verification, traditional document inspection by human officers. While effective leaves room for sophisticated fraud, high-quality counterfeit passports exist. People sometimes attempt to travel on documents that belong to someone else who looks similar. The biometric system makes these deceptions much more difficult because it's verifying your actual face against government records, not just checking whether a document looks legitimate. The third goal is immigration enforcement, specifically addressing the long-standing problem of visa overstays. Millions of people enter the United States legally each year on temporary visas. A percentage of those individuals stay beyond their authorized period, either intentionally or sometimes by accident. Before this system, tracking overstays was difficult because departure records were incomplete. If someone entered on a tourist visa, for example, and then simply didn't leave when their visa expired, the government might not have a clear record of whether they actually departed or remained in the country illegally. The new biometric system fundamentally changes this dynamic. Every entry creates a biometric record. Every exit creates a biometric record. Immigration officials can now see with precision who entered, who left, and who remains past their authorized stay. This complete tracking capability represents one of the most significant changes in how the United States manages temporary visitors and ensures compliance with immigration law, the real-world travel experience. Now let's talk about what this actually means for you as a traveler. What should you expect when you go through this process? For most lawful travelers, the day-to-day experience shouldn't be dramatically different from what many of you have already experienced. In fact, multiple reports indicate that facial recognition screening is often faster than traditional manual checks. The typical process works like this. You approach the checkpoint. You look into the camera for a moment. The system verifies your identity automatically and you continue through. The entire verification often takes just a few seconds. Many travelers report that it feels seamless and actually speeds up the overall process compared to waiting for an officer to manually inspect documents. However, there are some important considerations and potential complications you should be aware of. First and foremost, this system creates a complete permanent travel history for every non-citizen. When immigration officers review your visa extension application, your green card renewal, or your citizenship application, they will now have immediate access to your exact entry and exit dates, all verified through biometric records. This level of precision didn't exist before. This is especially significant for green card holders. Permanent residents are required by law to treat the United States as their primary home and avoid unnecessarily prolonged absences. Before this biometric system existed, occasional missing records or unclear passport stamps sometimes made it easier to explain travel gaps or provide approximate dates. Those days are gone. Now, with every border crossing recorded through biometric confirmation, any extended trip abroad is crystal clear to immigration officials. If you spend 6 months outside the United States, they know exactly when you left and when you returned, down to the specific day and time, technology accuracy, and potential issues. While facial recognition technology has improved dramatically in recent years, I want to be completely honest with you about its limitations because understanding potential issues helps you prepare for them. The Department of Homeland Security acknowledges that no biometric system is perfect. Several factors can affect how quickly and accurately the system identifies you. Lighting conditions at the checkpoint can make a difference. Camera angles matter. Shadows falling across your face can sometimes cause issues. Significant changes in your physical appearance since your passport photo was taken, such as substantial weight gain or loss, new facial hair, or different hairstyles, can occasionally affect matching accuracy. Research studies have shown that accuracy can vary slightly among different demographic groups. People with darker complexions, older adults, and women sometimes experience slightly higher rates of mismatches or failed initial scans. These aren't huge differences, but they're statistically measurable. And various civil liberties organizations have raised concerns about potential disparities in how the technology performs across different populations. So, what happens if the system fails to verify your identity on the first attempt? You'll be directed to what's called secondary inspection. This is a more detailed process where a CBP officer manually examines your passport and may ask routine questions to confirm your identity. In the vast majority of cases, the issue is resolved quickly. However, you should be aware that secondary inspection can add anywhere from a few minutes to potentially longer delays to your travel time, especially at busy ports of entry during peak hours. My advice is to be patient if this happens to you. It doesn't mean you've done anything wrong. It doesn't necessarily indicate a problem with your immigration status. Sometimes the technology just needs human verification, and that's a normal part of the process. Privacy and data storage. Privacy is obviously a major concern when we're talking about government collection and storage of biometric data. So let me give you the facts about how your information is handled. According to CBP policy, photos of U.S. citizens taken during the verification process are deleted within 12 hours after verification. This is a deliberate privacy protection for American citizens who aren't subject to the same level of tracking as foreign nationals. However, for non-citizens, the situation is very different. Photos of non-citizens are stored in the DHS Biometric database for up to 75 years, which aligns with current policies for immigration and travel data retention. Think about that time frame for a moment. 75 years covers essentially your entire lifetime. The government is creating a permanent biometric record of your international travel to and from the United States. The Department of Homeland Security has published multiple privacy impact assessments explaining how this data is collected, stored, protected, and used. These assessments detail the security measures in place to prevent unauthorized access and misuse of biometric information. The rule also technically allows for collecting other forms of biometrics, such as fingerprints or iris scans, though facial recognition remains the primary method for the foreseeable future. Civil liberties organizations, including the American Civil Liberties Union and the Center for Democracy and Technology, have expressed concerns about this level of data collection and retention. They worry about potential government overreach, the possibility of data sharing between agencies, and the long-term implications of permanent biometric tracking. These are legitimate concerns that deserve serious consideration even as the government proceeds with implementation. Specific impacts for different groups. Let me break down what this system means for different categories of travelers because the implications vary depending on your immigration status. For green card holders, you already know that authorities check your documents during re-entry to the United States. What's different now is that your entries and exits will be documented automatically and permanently in a biometric database. If you travel frequently for work or personal reasons, if you apply for citizenship, or if you need to renew your green card, immigration officers will review this timeline carefully. The long-standing rule still applies. Avoid staying outside the United States for more than 6 months at a time unless you have a compelling reason and strong supporting documentation. Extended absences can raise questions about whether you've abandoned your permanent residence. If you expect to stay abroad for a prolonged period due to family emergencies, business requirements, medical treatment, or other legitimate reasons, you should seriously consider applying for a re-entry permit before you travel. It doesn't guarantee absolute protection, but it demonstrates your intention to maintain U.S. residence and provides important legal documentation for visa holders. F1, H1B, L1, J1, B1, B2. Your legal stay in the United States is tied to very specific dates and conditions outlined in your visa approval and your I-94 arrival-departure record. With the new biometric exit system, your exact departure date will now be automatically recorded with precision. Even a short overstay becomes immediately visible in the system. For F1 students in particular, maintaining proper status is more critical than ever. The biometric records will show definitively if you remained in the United States past your allowed duration, if you violated the terms of your status, or if you failed to maintain full-time enrollment as required. These precise records will follow you through any future immigration applications. For future immigration benefit applicants, when you apply for a green card, citizenship, visa extension, or any other immigration benefit, USCIS officers will have a precise biometric timeline showing when you entered the United States, when you left, how long you stayed during each visit, whether you overstayed your authorized period, and the pattern of your international travel, including any repeated or extended absences. This means keeping your own accurate records is more important than ever. You should maintain detailed documentation of all your international trips, including departure dates, return dates, destinations, and purposes of travel. Make sure your personal records align with what DHS has in their system, because any discrepancies, even innocent ones, can trigger follow-up questions during immigration interviews or application reviews. The phased implementation rollout. The Department of Homeland Security has made it clear that while the rule takes effect on December 26, 2025, the expansion will happen in phases across different types of checkpoints. Not every location will have the full system operational immediately, but the end goal is complete biometric exit tracking for all non-citizens at every port of entry. Phase 1, Major International Airports. The first wave focuses on high-volume international airports locations like JFK in New York, LAX in Los Angeles, Miami International,